meeting to order. This evening we have Eric Douglas, pastor of Beacon Community Church, and he'll lead us in a pledge of allegiance and invocation.
Would you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please join me in prayer? Father God, thank you that you are a good God. And I thank you for each person here, those that serve our community. Are really servants of you, the Bible says. You have instituted government for the good of the people. And so we just pray your blessing on each person here. Pray for wisdom, pray for protection, pray for grace that each of them need in the different roles and different areas that they oversee. And we thank you for them, for being willing to serve our community. And pray that their service, the decisions they make here tonight, the conversations that will be had, that there would be unity, that it would be for the good and flourishing of Goddard. It may be for your glory. Bless them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Next item, I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Do I have a second?
A second.
Amanda seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Naomi?
She's probably got it on mute.
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Naomi Leonard is obviously not with us, but she's here on the phone tonight. And Corey Durr is out of the country, so he's not available. So this is the tag team of 4 that's running the meeting tonight. So that's an explanation of that. Citizen comments. 3 minutes, and our first guest is coming to the podium.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name is Melody Ellis, and I'm here to ask for a new crosswalk across Main Street at First Street. Right now, kids who walk from Discovery Intermediate to the library or Goddard have a problem. After school, the car ride or line doesn't end until around 3:10. That's when a lot of kids are walking, but there is no safe crosswalk for us to use. The crosswalk and traffic at Linear Park get too busy, causing backups. The library is only about a 10-minute walk from Discovery, and the Hub and Community Center are right there too. These are places kids could learn, read, play, and be part of the community. But without a crosswalk, crossing Main Street feels unsafe, especially when cars are honking at us for way watching, and drivers may not be watching for kids. A crosswalk at Main Street and First would help kids cross safely after school. It would help families feel more comfortable letting their kids walk, and it would make it easier for kids to get places that help us learn and grow. Kids should be able to walk safely in our community. We shouldn't have to choose between safety, independence, and getting home. Thank you for listening and helping keep me children safe.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Melanie, thank you.
Okay,
Anybody want to follow that?
Where's my step stool? I'm Lydia Eastman, I live at 201 North Pine. And I want to second that, what she just said. We need sidewalks for our kids. Ever since I lived here, they have not had sidewalks from Walnut to Main Street. And my kids, they survived, but and from CVS too. You know, they have wonderful crosswalks there, and they make sure the kids get across the street, but then you're on your own. Good luck, get home. I wanted to get home too, and I wanted to go safely. So, I definitely am a proponent of that. But the reason I actually wanted to come and talk to you was that, as a senior in the Goddard community, I spent a fair amount of time, would you say fair amount of time at the center? Not like Karen Keatley does, but a fair amount of time there. And last couple weeks, when I've been helping tear down for the end of the week, I've been sweeping the floor. And as I was doing that, I noticed our sideboards down there, and our ducts, and some other areas that are dirty. And I don't know if we have a plan for cleaning inside. I know the floor could use a good washing too. So I just want to bring that in and propose maybe when we have our Goddard Neighbors United, that maybe a group could come in, because it's going to be on the floor, reaching up high, things like that, things that seniors kind of put for the youngers to do. That's what it's going to entail. And to include that as a project, and have a spring cleaning of the building. Because like I say, the dust and dirt is starting to build up, and it's not healthy. So, thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much.
Okay, anyone else this evening? If not, we'll go ahead and close citizen comments. This time I'd like to give the council an opportunity to declare any conflicts of communication that might influence their ability to consider tonight's agenda items impartially. I'll good on that, so easy peasy. Next item is appointments. I know our city administrator was going to be here this evening, but he's ill. The flu is going around. Just for the record, I would just like to say, let people know that we have a small mayor council form of government. The mayor and the vice mayor are chosen by the council every 2 years and serve at the pleasure of the council, so, and can be removed by an officer's the majority vote of the council. So this is our form of government, and we're at that point where it's time to nominate a new mayor, or nominate a mayor and a vice mayor. So 4 of us are here. Corey's in Japan, they can't call us, but I'll open the floor for nominations.
I make a nomination for George Lee for mayor. I second.
We have a motion to second on the floor. All those in favor?
I agree.
So all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. I'll vote for myself. Motion passes 4-0.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Krista as vice mayor.
I second that. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0. Congratulations, new vice mayor.
Thank you.
And we'll keep going. We've got a big agenda here this evening. Consent agenda, item G. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at those items. I'll move to approve the consent agenda. Have a second.
I second that.
Amanda seconds. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Okay, new business.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm just here to introduce our next speaker. So we have with us A man who needs no introduction, but I'll introduce him anyway. Randy Raynard serves on the Central County Emergency Communications Advisory Board and is here to provide the council with an update. So with that, I will turn it over to Randy. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Vice Mayor. Congratulations to the council. Is this queued up? Okay. Going to try to summarize about 19 months of activity here in as short a period as I can. The Emergency Communications Advisory Board meets bi-monthly, and these are the meetings that I've personally attended, are in-person attended, and then the others we had the opportunity to attend by conference call. It's a very good group, led by Laura Boucher, who is the
Assistant.
pardon me?
Oh, assistant.
Well, she's the I can't remember the title. I'm sorry. She runs the dispatch center.
Yeah, emergency communication.
Yeah. We started out back when this began with a tour of the facilities by the entire group, and then individuals that are on the committee were given the opportunity to do a quote-unquote ride-along. We sat with dispatchers, all three disciplines of dispatchers, call takers, police, fire, and EMS. And then they took feedback from all of us, and I think it was very well received. A lot of the comments that were made by those of us that sat along have been taken into consideration. One of the things that we noticed pretty much immediately was staffing. They've since then improved it significantly, but the big issue they have is with talent acquisition. Specifically, they get specifically interested people that say, hey, I want to be a police dispatcher, or I want to be an emergency communications dispatcher, and they bring those people in if they're qualified. And they also do some really good recruiting efforts. They have changed over from a generalized dispatcher where each position does everything to becoming more discipline specific. So they have people that are doing EMS, they're doing fire, they're doing law enforcement. And that's based primarily on the initial call taker gets the message and then forwards it to the appropriate group as much as possible. We've talked about their budget and reviewed that with them, both personnel, salaries, etc., and the equipment. One of the first things that was noticed by pretty much all of the committee members or board members was that they all wear two headsets. They have to put one on one side and then they have to put one on the other side, and that is a battle. I found it extremely annoying. I'm told they get used to it, but there are better ways to do it, and they're looking into how to do that because they have a telephone headset and a radio headset. So they're looking at ways to do that, even if it's just splitting it so they have a couple of different push-to-talk buttons. But that was a real interesting discovery. We had looked at their computer-aided dispatch system, which they just went to a new one 2 years ago, I believe it was, roughly, and talked about the software and the customization of it. And having worked around law enforcement, well, public safety dispatch, over my history, I'm really impressed with the system they have. It does a really good job. And I was used to the old well, it's not old, but I was used to the Motorola system. The one they have, I think, is very good. I think they've done a really good job with it. They also brought on a workforce specialist in the last year and a half, that is responsible for talent acquisition, new hire training, and retention. And retention is one of the big issues that they have because that is a tough job. There is a lot of pressure on dispatchers. I know one of my ride-alongs, I saw a dispatcher just fall apart because they were on a heart-wrenching call. And they're doing a really good job, by the way, of getting them mental assistance. But it gets real interesting in there at times. We also discussed at great length, special event staffing, specifically for New Year's Eve and Independence Day. Those are two of the biggest, events or days that they have as far as impact on the dispatch center. New Year's Eve because of all the partiers, and by the way, St. Patrick's Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, what others are big ones for law enforcement? That's probably the big four. The other thing they worked really hard on is coming up with a non-emergency number, and I think you've seen that publicized several times now for fireworks complaints. They're considering a separate non-emergency number to be active all the time, possibly even a 3-digit number, and that's something that's being regarded. And then there's other demand events, like they bring on extra people for the activities downtown, they bring on extra people for the county fair. They try to staff up, and that's a challenge for the team. One of the things about the non-emergency number is there's a definite need for it because everybody calls 911 and then that gets hammered for things that aren't necessarily urgent. So they have that, they're looking at staffing, they're trying to figure out some way to cross-train some people for those non-emergent issues, and they're trying to come up with the right roles. And this is something that the committee is actually looking at right now. They're making good progress, and they're looking at trying to do that with using some of the experiences of other areas. One of the things about this, though, is the technical consideration. Do we do a 3-digit number? Do we publish, right now they just publish a standard phone number, it's not the dispatch number. But there's some technical considerations there as to once that call comes in, then how do they refer it to the right place? So there's a bunch of stuff that's going on with that. We also spent a great deal of time looking at the Jensen News report. Some of you may remember there was an unfortunate fatality for which the dispatchers took a lot of heat, or the whole department took a lot of heat. The Jensen News report did a really good job of covering the facts and timeline of the event and the results. And I don't remember, I think the report was somewhere around 200 pages. It was interesting to read. And there was a number of recommendations that came out from that, and I just, after proofreading this 4 times, I just now see a typo. Some of the recommendations, though, were giving dispatchers the ability to monitor the TAC channels, or at least to have, when there's a very active event, have somebody monitoring the TAC channels. Because one of the problems was the TAC channels weren't being monitored. And for those of you that don't know, the TAC channels are like the on-scene channels that they use that aren't necessarily broadcast all over the city. It's kind of a localized channel. And without the ability to monitor that, their situational awareness isn't necessarily very good. Another recommendation was to have instant recall of recordings, and I believe that's already being implemented in the CAD system, where if somebody's on a call or a call is in there, it will record and give them the ability to do an instant replay by just hitting a button of the last 15, 30, 45 seconds or even a minute of the call in case they missed something. The Jensen News report recommended some staffing changes, which they've already worked on, and it also recommended standards for upgrading to a second alarm. One of the complaints about this particular event was it took a long time for a second alarm to be declared. And that's certainly up to the fire department, but also when things come up to a particular level, they'd like to be able to just automatically declare that alarm or declare that second dispatch. And then there was a thorough review of their operations meeting. We spent probably 3 meetings covering this. The other thing that's a big emphasis for them is public interaction. It's amazing how many people don't understand the appropriate use of the 911 system, the emergency dispatch, calling into emergency dispatch. There's also recruiting going on, and that's also part of the public interaction. They've been having a Citizens Fire Academy, which it seems odd that the emergency communications people would be involved in that, but the Citizen Fire Academy does tend to attract a lot of interested people. And then there's a big emphasis, and this was just from the last meeting that we had in December, on information distribution. Getting the word out to how to call 911. There's a lot of places that have difficulty, like if they've got an internal phone system, they may have to dial 0911 or 9911 or whatever. So one of the recommendations has been to have a placard by every phone that's available to the public and even on the desks. To also have placards by the AEDs, the first aid kits. Pretty much any place somebody might urgently need to contact 911, but in a panic might not know how to, especially places where it's unique in how you do it. And then there's all kinds of ongoing activity, meetings, recommendations, and reviews that we're doing, and that's what I've been involved in for the last 18 months. It's been a real pleasure to do it. It's been very eye-opening and very rewarding, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that on behalf of Goddard and our level of cities. And we're continuing to make observations. Thank you for your time.
Randy, thank you for serving
Yes,
us
sir.
in that capacity. Appreciate the update. And like we talked about a little earlier, maybe you come back at the end of March and give us an update on CERT training and all that good things.
Can I do a plug for that now? We're going to be doing CERT training the 3rd week of June here in Goddard, and I'll come back and explain that and do the sign-ups and stuff, or tell you about the sign-ups.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
You bet.
Okay. Next item. CFO Brooke Carroll. Put the 4th quarterly update already.
Alrighty. Before I get started, you might notice a new face at our table tonight, and I know we talked a great extent about her last week, or our last meeting, and the work that she's been doing with our waste tire grant, but I wanted to officially recognize Stephanie Guy, our utility billing clerk. She's here tonight kind of shadowing Lori, as Lori's fastly approaching her retirement date, to kind of do some shadowing. So I wanted you to meet Stephanie. Stephanie, I'm sorry, I did not prep you for this. But anyway, that's Stephanie, and she got our waste tire grant sent off and submitted. So
Well, thank you for all you're doing already.
Thank you.
okay, so 4th quarter financial report. It's my pleasure to bring you this report. We are looking good as Team Goddard, I feel. Almost all of our projections, our expectations were met in 2025, even maybe setting a little better than we expected to be. So we'll start going through this. This is the same, as I say every time that I present this is the same format that we do every time, just to keep it consistent, transparent, very easy to read, and everybody starts learning it as we go along. I have added in a couple new things just to make it a little bit better, hopefully. I think the mayor had some ideas for me to change some things up, so we did that. But you will notice in this report the enterprise fund performance. It's in a new presentation this time around. I've extended out some of that analysis. Our debt summary will show a giant jump this quarter due to the $40 million of debt that we took on in 4th quarter, which we will explain. And in the fund balance compliance review, I've also included a budgeted versus year-end comparison to kind of show you where we landed as we did our projections for the budget back last fall to see where we landed. So, starting off with our general fund, we'll review the general fund revenues. The top 5 revenue sources are general fund expenditures, the top 5 expenditure categories, budget authority, year-to-date status, and year-over-year comparison. That's a little funny here. Starting off, our general fund looked really good. Everything really met expectations as our percentage of revenue as a budget. Those slides got kind of off a little bit. Everything, alcohol taxes was performing very good at 276%. Everything, all of our tax revenues, our franchise taxes were over the threshold. Property taxes was actually at 97.95%, sitting at 2.5 million. Building permits was just a little under budget. We came in at 92.57% of what we expected to bring in. And just to talk about some of the lower performing revenue sources, our court and police income, it was only at 40% of what we actually budgeted, but I think it was set kind of high when it was set, and we kind of determined that that isn't going to be maybe what we expect it to be going forward, just due to new staffing, understaffed police department, and a lot of our officers are in training. So that was really truly to be expected. Our interest income was actually at 165% of budgeted expectations, but in my report it shows that it's down 57% based on prior year. But if you recall, we had reallocated the way that we do interest. So in 2024 it was different than what I did in 2025. But overall interest as a whole city was up 57%. Our pool income was actually down just a little bit too. It came in at 95% of expectations. As a reminder, our miscellaneous income is generated by administrative fees, firework permits, merchant fees, refunds, and a slew of other services that we provide. But we brought in approximately $520,000 for developer admin costs, fees that we charge to developers for our projects. We split that into half went into the general fund and half went into debt service fund. So that's why that is performing really well. Our top 5 revenue sources are property taxes at 2.5 million, sales tax came in at 1.9, comp use tax is at 644,000, followed by franchise at 501, and miscellaneous income at 379,000. So really, pretty much everything, the revenues, they're pretty much hitting right where we want them to be. Like I said, with the court and police revenue, we expected that. We talked about that during budget season, so it's really nothing to be alarmed. Talking about the general fund expenditures, everything looked really good. Every category almost hit the mark at under 100% of their authority. I do want to mention that the mayor and council department, it did hit at 115% of their budgeted expenditures, but just letting you know that there were council retreat in January and council orientation in December. Typically that December would have hit in January and it would have all balanced out. So that's kind of why that hit that way. Law enforcement was at 94%. Pool, it was actually sitting at 81.61%, and so it really did pretty well on expenditures. If we were to net those two, the revenue and the expenses, we were looking at an $80,000 loss for the pool. I always like to highlight that. That's just an amenity that we expect to be that way. Revenues were down just a tad bit for pool. I should have mentioned, but that's seasonal. There was a lot of rain. It was a lot cooler this summer. That's just kind of the way it goes. The capital outlay discretionary line item, we spent around $466,000. That is up 74% from 2024 at $267,000. I wanted to remind you that that category also holds a portion of our 5 and 5 street allocation. Budget magic and the way that we played and paid for the 5 and 5 street program. A portion of it had to come out of the general fund, a portion of it comes out of the capital improvement fund, a portion of it came out of street fund. So 2026, it'll all come out of the street fund. It's been reorganized that way. A couple other items that came into that category also was our ClearGov software that we purchased, other consulting fees, and some costs came in from 2024, paid in 2025 for our signages that we've been putting forth. We were able to make transfers at 100%. We had plenty of budget authority to do so. Just as a reminder, if our budget categories are running high and we have to stay under budget authority, we would cut transfers. That's kind of where it would land. I feel like since we're able to make transfers, that shows we were operating efficiently and everything went as planned. So, any questions? These slides, I guess I loaded them kind of funny, so they don't really show up very well here, but you do have it in your packet in a format there. Any questions so far? Top 5 expenditure categories: court and police, that's no surprise. Administration is number 2, followed by our capital outlay discretionary. Capital outlay, code enforcement, and planning and zoning. Moving along to our special revenue and enterprise funds. These are all of our different sources of our funds with revenue sources that are just kind of outside. They have special reasons that they receive revenue. So our special highway fund receives gas tax and transfers in. Debt service is a mill levy, new issuances and transfers in. Our library is a mill levy revenue source. Special parks and recreation is transfers, and I should have written in there, it also has the community impact fees going into that fund. The tourism promotion fund has our transient guest tax, general fund support, and then newly now is our programming fees coming into that department as well. The CID Tanganyika is a special sales tax that comes in and out. The TDD Goddard Galleria is a special sales tax that we are collecting and holding at this time. And then something new that just started is the TDD Tanganyika special sales tax. And again, we're holding on to that cash as it comes in. Then we have our water, sewer, and stormwater funds. Everything in these categories looked really well too. Just a couple of things to highlight. If you were looking at the debt service fund and you saw that we only spent 14.9% of our budget authority, it was set really high. I'm not real sure in 2025 why it was set that high, but it's been changed in 2026 to be towards actual expenditures. I believe that there was a methodology of maybe we put a lot of we don't know what kind of debt we're going to bring in, and so it was kind of bumped up and kind of inflated a bit, I want to say, but it's been cleaned out and we kind of been mapped out just maybe just a little bit better for this go around. Library brought in exactly what we expected it to, and again transferred right back out to them. Tourism and promotion was up 309% from last year. They brought in 309% of our budgeted expectations. 77,000 was what was brought in the tourism fund, and I just want to highlight that about 24,000 of that was our transient guest tax, and $46,000 of that was the programs that we held, Main Street Market, Fall Fest, all of that other stuff. So that was kind of our learning year, and I think Danny's going to talk about that in a bit, but that was our learning year of just kind of trying to map out how that fund's going to work out. But so far, so good, and it looked like it did really well. Water fund looks really good. We'll talk about that in a second in detail. We were actually over 100% of expectations at 109, and really sewer fund, we were right on the money, 99.7% of budget expectations there, so that looks really good, and our stormwater fund is also looking really good. Any questions on the revenue of our special revenue funds yet? All right, moving on to expenditures. We were under budget on every single one of these line items as well. I'm trying to see if there's anything we really want to highlight. Our water, when you look at the water utility, sewer utility funds, it's showing that we only spent 69.84% here and 62.57% in the sewer fund. I just want you to know that that is before transfers, so if we were to factor in our transfers to that dollar amount, we would probably be closer to 95 to 98%. So those funds run right up next to the line. We're always watching those at year end just to see if we can make those year end transfers, and we were able to do so. Okay, so moving on to the enterprise fund performance. This is the analysis that I told you that I expanded on just to make it, as I was working through it, and the last time you guys saw this, it was really pretty simplified, and then my mind started working double time, and I thought this isn't making any sense because it's getting to be so spread out amongst different things. So we've got the water fund, we have the water reserve fund, we have the capital improvement fund, and now we've got temp notes that are funding these different projects as well. So it was kind of hard to say putting all this together where it made sense. So I did some research and I put this in a presentation that would be acceptable to GASB and GFOA. Those are accounting standards and boards that would make this be more in alignment. And so what it does is it takes into consideration all of those things in the proper categories and puts them where they need to go. So if we start looking at our water utility fund, you can see our operating revenues were at 1.8. Our operating expenses were about $1,025,000, leaving us with a net operating income of $789,000. So that looks really good. And then we had some additional revenues that came in through the water reserve fund. So those items included interest. Actually, we had interest in the water fund and the water reserve fund, and then we had equity fees that are also coming into the water reserve fund. So we add those in, then we do our transfers out. So we have some debt service, some water reserve fund, or a debt service fund, water reserve fund, and the equipment reserve fund, $400,000, actually left us with $548,000 ahead in the water fund. So that is truly exceptional. That is something that's going to make a big difference into our future when we start making transfers and such back into the water reserve fund for debt service on some of the big projects that we have coming up into the future. Talking about our fund balance and our net position, our water fund balance is set at 1.2. Our water reserve fund was set at $274,000 with a total of $1.5 million. That is significantly up. That's really pretty good. We had some capital outlay where we did different projects. Out of the water reserve fund, we spent $119,000. Capital outlay out of the capital improvement fund, we spent $541,000. And then temp note projects, we spent $229,000. Those temp note projects, just to remind you, are our SCADA project that we are currently working on, that we have temp notes out for, our water looping, and public works facility. So if we start looking at our key financial performance indicators, every single one of these are in the excellent category. Our operating ratio is at 56.51%. Net income as a percentage of operating revenue is at 43.49. Our days of cash on hand are 549, and our debt service coverage is 7.26. So, banker, what do you think of those metrics? Those look really good.
I think the big thing is we're positioned right now to be able to pay for these three big projects, which includes the park, our public works facility, and the water looping, without in 2 or 3 years having to increase property tax.
Yeah.
And that's a significant accomplishment because we're talking about $14 or $15 million. So with the projections that we've done, this is only really, it's sustained by the growth in valuation every year of the new building. Our valuation increased about 10 million this year, and that increase in valuation nets us this $350,000 to $400,000 increase in property tax without raising the mill levy. The other thing is you look at the sales tax revenues. As the community grows, the amount of revenue generated, our 1/6 sales taxes continue to increase the funds as well. Those are all needed to help us to the point when these projects get finished and we go to pay for them, we'll have the money to pay for them without raising property tax. So I think the projections that we have, we've got some safety valves and things that we can do if things flatten out and the growth slows down. But the important thing is that we're monitoring those things, and we have a budget that, as these numbers continue to roll forward, gives us more certainty that we can take on the debt and not increase property tax. So that's, I think,
Or even rates. I mean.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I mean, not have to increase water rates, leave the mill levy where it is, and that's, all dependent on another 2 or 3 years of growing like we've been growing.
Okay. Sewer utility fund is the same. I won't go through all of these again, but again, these are all looking really good, and at the end of the day, our change in net position was a 133, 450, and all of our key metrics are actually really good too. So again, days of cash on hand 695, and debt service coverage at 5.5. I mean, those are excellent, excellent to have as your performance indicators on those funds. I don't want to steal everybody's evening. I move on. Capital Improvement Fund and Project Fund. This is where you can see a major increase from quarter 3 to quarter 4. This shows that we took on our debt, an additional 40 million for, actually it was about half and half developer projects, half city at large projects. So that's why that jumped up so big. And we can show you the breakdown of, what these are made out of. So you can see our balances here for 12/31, all of the developer projects, and our total debt, our total project balance actually is $55,200,000, $12, 55.2 million. I was going to say that thing. I'm getting tired. City projects though is 21 million. And you can see what makes up that 21 million. Our capital improvement fund is holding 1.6 right now. And then we have a slew of other projects there. Our 2025 1T fund, our water looping project is 6.9. Public Works is 5.6, and the North Park project has 6.7. Reserve fund balances, these are pretty simple. Honestly, they ended higher than they did in the beginning of quarter 1. They've all gone up, so we've utilized them, but they've also had revenues in there. There's community impact fees that are going in there. Equity fees, Equity fees are going into there, and also interest income is helping some of those grow, in addition to some transfers from the other funds to kind of make those grow.
Just one quick comment on those city project funds. Those numbers and balances, the actual expense and what we hope to actually put out on debt will be significantly lower than that. The North Park is in there at over 6.5 million. We've already have donations of 1.2 million. There's some other things that will hopefully roll into that, so that the actual indebtedness after these temporary notes have paid off will be significantly lower than what's listed there. So
yes, and on the water looping, Public Works facility in the North Park project, it also, these balances also are holding capitalized interest in there right now too. So the total project cost won't be that. That's the total at the end of the day. If we were to spend every single dime of what we have in there. We won't. Just a real quick rundown on our equipment reserves, kind of where dollars were spent, and this really hasn't changed a whole lot since the other quarters, but City Hall, computer equipment, public, police department, a vehicle, and public works, and computer equipment, safety equipment, and vehicle outfitting. I don't know what that $95 is, but. Okay, so our debt summary, moving along, you can see as of 12/31/2025, our total debt as a city is $105 million. 29% of that is city projects, which is about $30.2 million. Special assessment projects, which have already been they're on the tax rolls right now, that are being paid for by special assessments, is at $28.7 million, and the developer projects that we have out right now in temp notes sit at about $51.1 million. So out of that $105 million, 30.2 of that is really city projects that, you know, we've initiated. Any questions on that? Treasury update. Everything's looking really good. We are sitting at total cash and investments at $66.1 million right now. Again, we're holding on to a lot of project tip note cash at this time. Our interest right now, we've earned $1.5 million in interest. That is up 57.07% from last year, but we've almost doubled what we're holding in the bank right now. I do want to make note that First National Bank's interest rate at 3.42 is starting to get more competitive with People's Bank and Trust, because they have upped our interest earnings the way that they've been computing. Typically what we would get is 0.3 basis points above the KMIP 30-day rate, and they have decided to give us 1 point above it. So they're trying to become more competitive in there. I like to see that, because we're going to be having another CD mature, and also the $4 million we're holding at People's Bank and Trust will also, that rate will be adjusted, I believe, mid-year. So there's this pretty little chart, shows kind of where we were, redundant. The Q4 Treasurer's Report is in your packet. This has been sent to the paper and published, so that's up and running. Really nothing to explain there. Change in fund balance. This is a report the mayor had asked me to kind of show kind of where we started at the beginning of the year, to show you where we ended at the end. Obviously we're up 97%, but at the end of the year we're holding an additional $40 million of cash on hand. So that kind of skews that, but you can kind of see the change in each of the funds from January to December. Fund balance compliance review. This is where we want to make sure that we're in compliance with our 25% policy. Every fund that we would want to make that statement for is at or exceeding 25%. You might remember back in Q3, bond and interest fund was at 9.42%, but we are up to 37.52 now, that we were able to put a portion of that developer admin fee into that, and some interest income has also came in. So we are setting well at all of our fund balances right now. Fund balance projection. This is where I wanted to just double check as we start 2026 to see where we landed. So 12/31/2025, this was our actual, and compared to what I started with, hope to start with, and everything looks really good. I do want to make note that, you know, just because this $822,000 that we were ahead of expectations for the general fund, there's probably about $250,000 to $300,000 of expenses yet to come out of that through encumbrances. I know, for instance, we haven't paid everything for the 5 and 5 yet that hasn't come in and been invoiced. So some of these things will go down, but all in all, it's looking really good. Special Parks and Recreation didn't hit where we expected it to be, just because impact fees were lower than expected. But overall, everything looks really good. Star Bond Fund also is just kind of a special situation, because we're actually trying to zero that fund out and just get rid of it. So that's way that's at. Council approved projects. This is our complete list of just kind of keeping track of the things that we approved for 2025, and obviously we'll continue to do this. Some of the big ticket items on here are SCADA project. I want to say we're about 95% complete, so some of these costs haven't been completely paid for. Salt sand storage, I want to mention, is about 99% complete. And 5 and 5 sitting about 95%. So those are some of the big ticket items on that list. If you just kind of wondered where we stand on those. Finally, projects and planning update. Right now we're busy. Everything's moving fast. We're going to start making some progress on our ClearGov capital improvement software implementation. I promised that to you. It's going to happen. We've got some specialized training next week. I'm actually going to bring Stephanie in on this too, so maybe she can have some time to help tackle that project. We had our first meeting with Tyler Tech. We are in stage 1 of 6. Stage 1 lasts 6 to 8 weeks supposedly, and we've got meetings scheduled for the next 6 weeks now for that way. Website updates, we're trying to keep that updated. We've been finishing up the payroll duties, year-end, W-2s, reporting, all that good stuff. Our auditors will be here on February 3rd. All the documents are all ready for them. They're ready. They can come today. We're ready for them. And just one last thing, there's lots of 2027 budget prep happening as well. There's something really cool about to happen, and I can't wait for it to come out, but we are about to launch the Budget Hub on our website. The content's kind of it's in review right now, and hopefully by next week you can start seeing stuff on there. So visit the city website and check that out, because that's where we're going to keep track of our budget calendar. Our community budget planning survey is going to be there, workshop notes and materials, and frequently asked questions, and anything else that we can possibly do. So also we've been working on CIP revisions and annual goal setting. I'm all done. Okay.
A nice Micah finish.
Sorry, guys. I don't have any questions, but I have a statement. As somebody who sometimes needs clear direction on numbers, looking at spreadsheets is not always my groove. I love the way that you break this down. Almost like the little people who are not George over here. And so I just appreciate that, and thank you for always being direct, even before being on council. And you can look it up and understand what you're saying. So I appreciate that.
Transparency.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Are we moving on to item number 3?
Yes,
Okay.
we are on
Charge
item
ahead.
number 3, yes. First, before we get into this item, I'd just like to again thank Brooke for her professionalism and the level of detail and ability of explanation she brings to the council, to the community. In case you weren't aware, last week Brooke was honored by Wichita Business Journal as a CFO of the Year. So congratulations to Brooke. We're very proud of her, a very deserving award, and are so grateful to have her on our team here in Goddard. So moving on to item number 3. This is a resolution on the city designated newspaper. As you are aware, we started this process back in October of last year with the passing of a charter ordinance to allow us to use the city's website as our designated newspaper, except for in certain circumstances where, per state statute, we are required to publish still some legal notifications in a printed newspaper. So again, where we are tonight is the final step. That is to adopt a resolution designating the city's website as the official city newspaper. Just as a point of clarification, we did meet with representatives from the Times-Sentinel, and due to the fact that switching to just the city website for a vast majority of our publications, this would have a significant impact on their sources of revenue. And so they have made an offer to allow us to continue, if we continue to publish everything in the newspaper, all required public notifications, all legal notifications, that they will provide us with a deep discount over the course of the next 2 years. As provided in the staff report, there are 2 attachments. One, the resolution, And then two, a contract agreement with the Times Sentinel. This would be for a 2-year period starting today and ending on January 20th of 2028. That contract has been reviewed and approved by the city's legal counsel. And this comes down to either the two alternatives. So the first alternative, and again, trying to be brief considering tonight's lengthy agenda, presented tonight, there are two options. Option one is a full transition to the city's website. What this does is provides for, again, everything that legally can be published will be published on the city's newspaper, and those few publications that do require a printed edition would still do that. The second option is a hybrid approach, which again allows the city to publish, it does allow the city to use the city's website as a designated newspaper. However, for the next 2-year period, we would still publish everything in the Times Sentinel, again at a discounted rate. In terms of saving, again, the reason why we brought this to council in the beginning was to look at, of course, avenues that we can be wise stewards of the taxpayer dollars. So this savings does represent around $35,000 to $40,000 of savings if we strictly go with option one. Option two still represents a significant saving of approximately around $23,000, again, each year over the course of the next 2 years. So that's why we are offering both of these options. With both options, you'll find that there's still the resolution that adopts the city's website along with the Times Sentinel as shown in the resolution itself as the official newspaper. Option one would be the route of strictly only printing those items that are required by state law. Option two would be designated again the city's website and the Times Sentinel as the official outlets and approve the 2-year contract. That again provides us with a discounted rate of publication for all public notices, but would be in effect for a period of 2 years unless either party decides to end that contract. So we've reviewed this, and again, the resolution and the contract have been reviewed and approved by city's legal counsel, but stand ready to answer any questions council may have, and again, staff remains neutral on these options. It's strictly up to you as council to decide on which avenue to go.
Vice Mayor, what's that?
I say that we have had a long-standing relationship with the Times Sentinel, and they're offering something to us, and I think that it would be wise to engage with that particular number two, especially considering the seniors that still read the paper, other people still read the paper, and Paul sent us each an email, so I think that my position is that we do the hybrid.
I would completely agree with that. I just want to say I want to thank Paul for his email. I was out of the country. I did not respond in the moment. I wanted to get through our vote, but I will be responding to him, just making sure that he shared the facts of just kind of where we're at. I shared this, I'll share it publicly, that I think if in the future we decide differently and we'd like to go with everything being just on the city website, I would really like to see another avenue, whether that's this important information posted on our parks enclosure bulletin board, or working with our new hub and getting that stuff posted in there maybe, or the senior center, or just somewhere where we're kind of being inclusive to everybody who maybe doesn't look at our city website or doesn't have the availability to do that. So I'm also in favor of option two.
Naomi?
I totally agree. I think that this is what happens when we have people come up and they speak and they tell us what's on their minds and what they're thinking, and so I just really want to continue to encourage people to speak up and use that time at the beginning of the meetings to say their piece. And so I'm just really proud of the community for doing that and letting us know what's on your mind. And so I totally agree that option two is the best for now. And if we decide, as Amanda said, if we decide to do something different after the 2-year term is over, that we make sure that that solution meets the needs of everybody in the community.
I agree as well, and I will make a motion to adopt item 2, making the Times Sentinel and our city website
Might as well just read it.
the adoption resolution designating both city's website, Times Sentinel, and official outlets, and approved 2-year contract with Times Sentinel, but locks in a discounted bulk rate. and allows the city administrator to sign the contract agreement.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Passes 4-0. Moving
you.
on. Thank you, Ryan. Bond council.
Good evening, Kevin Callen with Gilmore Dale City Bond Council. On a long agenda, this is probably going to be your least favorite and driest topic. But I'll try to do my best with it.
What a tease.
So, even aside from what's in the background here, I want to give you additional background. When the city issues its temporary notes, and you will know this and have been through it, some of you, that's usually for 3.5 years for the special assessment projects, and the city will borrow, capitalize the interest on those notes. So during that 3-year period of time, interest is paid because that's what the market demands. But the city's not paying it currently. They're not asking the developer or the special assessment payers to pay that yet, pushing that off until homes sell, development's complete. Then when permanent bonds are issued, just because the typical timing of that for the city is late in the year, late in the calendar year, let's say it's November, those assessments can't be certified to the county until the following August. So you have bonds issued in November, but you don't have the cash flow because of that later certification a year later in August, and then those payments start in December, that we have this more than a year plus time period on your bonds where interest wouldn't be paid, and the market doesn't like that either. So typically with the bonds, there's another year of capitalized interest. So it's the temporary notes have the capitalized interest, and you issue bonds, that first year of interest is capitalized. All of it gets rolled into the assessments and it's paid over time. All permissible under our state law. Under our federal tax law, the IRS isn't crazy about capitalizing the interest for 4 years. They just have some sort of arbitrary rules that it's 3 years. That's the amount of time that you get. So the way we manage this for the city is through another IRS regulation that allows you to allocate among projects. And so while the IRS can be unreasonable, they are reasonable in this regard, that if we say, look, we issued these bonds, and part of it, the bond proceeds we'd like to use for capitalized interest, and we realize you don't really want us to do that, IRS. We've got, 5 and 5 projects. We have a lot of cash funded projects, and this regulation of the IRS allows you to allocate among that, and not for practical purposes, just for documentation for the IRS to say, look, we know you don't like us to capitalize interest for a 4th year, but we have a lot of cash funded projects, so for federal tax purposes, not state law purposes or any other reason, can we allocate some of the cash expenditures to this bond issue, and that frees up cash to pay the capitalized interest. So it's this allocation. So that's the background. We usually do this at the time that bonds are issued, but because you do have a lot of cash funded projects, I came up with this idea: why don't we just authorize bonds that could be issued for the cash funded projects, but they won't be, so that when we get later in the year and we're allocating for federal tax purposes, we've already taken care of that step. So that's the background. Aside from this, you have a charter ordinance, number 12, that allows you to finance any capital improvements with general obligation bonds as long as they're listed on your CIP plan. So what in the last paragraph is in one sentence, what I just took 5 minutes to explain to you, the advantageous tax allocation. So the resolution before you would take the projects that are in the budget planned for cash expenditures on the sewer side and street side, and say we're going to authorize bonds for these so that we can make the allocation for federal tax purposes later in the year when you do your special assessment bonds. We're not going to issue bonds. It's It's just going to set this up so we can make the allocation and not have to scramble later in the year to do it. So with that, charter ordinance allows any project that's listed under CIP to be bond funded. We're relying on that, and in this resolution, we're identifying those 2026 sewer and street improvements. Brooke provided that information to me. These are the budgeted amounts from cash for the sewer and street projects for this year. So that's what's listed in the resolution. So that's what it would do. All it would do is authorize bonds. You won't issue bonds for those projects. You'll spend cash, but when we get to the federal tax aspects of your bond issue in the fall, it will allow us to make that allocation and say, hey, IRS, we didn't use bond proceeds to pay that next year of interest. We're going to allocate it instead just on paper for these purposes. So financial, it doesn't change anything you're going to do this year. It's not going to change any way the bonds are handled later this year. It will just allow this allocation of your federal tax documents. And so I've prepared all of this and made your lives miserable with this discussion, but the hope is we'll just do this once a year so that later in the year, Brooke and I had to work through it in connection with the bonds last year, sort of, okay, we've got $300,000 in capitalized interest. We need to find cash expenditures to allocate that to. What did you spend those on? Obviously with the 5 and 5 projects and other projects, you've had lots of cash expenditures, but it's just taking this step early in the year so we can be done with it. We're not trying to work through it late in the year. So very technical, as I said, very dry, but it won't change, as I said, anything at all, and it's how you've been handling things. We're just getting ahead of the game a little bit. So recommendation is just approve the resolution, and that can be by voice motion, second and vote. Happy to entertain any questions or dodge things you're going to throw at me.
I think we're good. Do we have to waive the reading of the ordinance?
It's a resolution.
It's just a resolution, so, all right, just check. I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
I make a motion to approve the resolution.
I second.
Krista's made the motion, Amanda seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0.
Thank you. It'll
That
make
was
things-
painless.
It'll make things easier for Brooke and I late this year.
And that's all we want to do. Very good, thank you.
Kevin, if you want to stay up there, you can do my presentation.
That's a lot.
A couple people still about to pull us. All right, welcome council, mayor.
Chief, good to see you.
All right, so tonight I'm going to give you a presentation on a request for a new microphone for tasers. I think everyone here is pretty much familiar with tasers, what they do, and what their purpose is. Kind of open for questions if you have any specific questions about them, but I'll go through my presentation, and at the end, if you have any questions, just let me know. As one of the force option weapons that GPD carries, the taser by Axon is one of our options, allowing us to de-escalate and control the suspect with a lower risk of injury than impact weapons. Our police departments traditionally carried tasers since first acquiring them through a donation, actually in 2006, and only upgrading in significant models one time. The purpose of the taser is to provide neuromuscular incapacitation through electrical impulses, essentially causing muscular lockup. So this allows us to remove a weapon or handcuff a subject. And our current model, the X26P, is no longer supported. So 3 of those 15 tasers that we have are broken at end of life and cannot be repaired. So batteries, cartridges, and holsters will soon become less available. Additionally, the newest taser, Model 10, improves accuracy, safety, functionality, and transparency through the data information gathered and the technology inside of the taser that does continual millisecond monitoring of what's going on. Our department staff spent time in 2025 speaking with other agencies and Axon staff, and then we conducted a demo on the Taser 10 model before we finally landed on reaching a reasonable quote for the 16 devices that I'm going to ask for with a 5-year support term, and this 5-year term is more of a payment plan as well. Analysis, with only 12 available tasers right now, obviously I don't carry one, a couple other people aren't carrying them. We're growing in staff, so having 16 would provide each commissioned officer, sergeant, lieutenant, and an animal control officer with an issued device, as well as provide one backup until that 15th officer is hired. The Taser 10 is the newest taser, again, like I said, available from Axon. Has been in production since 2023, so it's not like it's brand new and they're just working kinks out. Is the current model carried by some surrounding agencies to include Derby PD and Wichita PD. Taser 10 provides the advantage of picking the target point for each dart rather than currently what we have, equipment-wise, which is essentially a guess and spread distance based on a distance you are from the subject. If you ever bird hunted, you know pellets have a spread, depending on how far, how fast the birds, you have to guess, essentially. We want to take that out of there. There's enough for us to think about, and having this pinpointed accuracy for each dart allows much safer and more effective usage. Like I said, it allows the advantage of picking a point for each dart rather than firing 2 darts at one time and guessing on the location spread. It also allows a target to be up to 45 feet away rather than the current 21 feet limit. The cost for purchase of the 16 tasers is $60,300 over the contract period of 60 months or 5 years, so 2026 now through 2030. Our first payment towards this contract would be $1,000 this year, paid in February, then $14,825 in January of the years 27 through 30. Legal considerations are approved as form, and my recommendation is it's recommended that the City Council approve the expenditure of $60,300 over 5 years for the purchase of 16 Taser 10 models from Axon. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just have a statement. You know, when we did our council orientation, we kind of discussed how there are times where you have one officer, you know, on patrol. And so I think that that extra 20 feet between you and a perp is pretty important. But also, you know, you mentioned that should your first fire not work, then you have to take the time to reload. Just kind of those minimal things that provide you guys with more safety, but ultimately provide the public with more safety on you know, a longer reaction time. I also think that this is something with only having to pay $1,000 that we can budget in for the next few years.
And I've worked with our CFO of the year for next year's budget. We have this year, we have for the next year as far as what we're planning, and obviously it's not approved for next year, but that's what we've got planned, and so we're already in the works for it. This is going to meet that very nicely.
And it's coming out of
It will come out of our.
This piece is coming out of the operating budget for the PD.
Yeah, so our operating budget, which I think is just under general equipment, I think.
It's a, yeah.
I don't know if we have a line item specifically just for the tasers. but
Actually, I think you do. I think I created
Maybe
one.
we created one just for this year.
Yeah.
Like I said, we hadn't had a budget item for it just
Yeah.
because it wasn't something you continually get each year.
And it was something during the budget process where you went back and negotiated. I mean, we didn't.
There was a lot of bells and whistles
Yeah.
that can come with this Axon companies in the package and the things you can do, some virtual reality training with goggles and things like that. So we kind of pulled some things out that we may not need specifically.
I'm good.
Good, Naomi?
Yep, sorry. Yep, we're good.
Those not present tonight can volunteer for any training that we have.
We heard we were gonna get to tase you, what happened there?
This way.
Let's do it.
We'll vote then. We'll do the vote.
I vote that we approve the expenditure of $60,300 over 5 years for the purchase of 16 Taser 10 models from Axon.
So we have a motion from Krista and Naomi seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I
Next
get to
item.
stay up here, timing wise, it works out great. So I'm going to make our vehicle purchase request. I do one about every year, obviously, because we try to keep a good fleet. So this is my request for one police vehicle. So we're assigned a policing fleet, consisting right now of 14 vehicles, one assigned to each officer. That excludes the animal control vehicle. We don't really put it in the same rotation because it's not driven as much. To account for our population growth, we're adding one officer to our staff in 2026, which requires an additional vehicle to be purchased. Our future vehicle replacement plan allows for the sale and the purchase of a couple vehicles each year to ensure officers are patrolling in vehicles with better safety features and lower maintenance costs. I put a couple vehicles in there because we're so fluid with our growth and what we're doing staffing wise. It's kind of fluid, so we're still working it out, and you'll see kind of my plan for growth and adding staffing and what we need vehicle wise from later on in this presentation. Providing each certified officer in the department with assigned vehicle provides the vehicle availability and maintenance responsibility. So if we have some incident, which currently if we let's say a large incident, we would have many officers in their own vehicles able to patrol, but just on crossing paths and covering overlapping shifts, this makes it much easier, as well as officers take more pride in their vehicles. The purpose of the proposal, or this proposal, is for the purchase of one black 2026 Chevy Tahoe police pursuit vehicle. To include the cost for decals and upfitting of the emergency equipment, this will be labeled as vehicle 4. So here is our kind of our fleet right now, and you can see I put that vehicle right there in gray because that's just a vehicle we're retaining for just an investigator and a floating assisting investigator, and also kind of acts as a vehicle taking to training as well as work at special events and things like that. So right now, and I will say we just sold that vehicle sitting out there. We were able to sell that today on Purple Wave, so I think we profited $4,900 just on that vehicle. So we're getting good resale, which is one of the many reasons why I'm opting to go with e-Tahoes, because of the good resale we're getting, and that's with a blown motor on it too. So you can kind of see here, I've put the mileage up there, rounded, and then this is more of my annual mileage per year estimate. Kind of fluctuates each year depending on when officers are, someone has a baby and takes time off, or someone trades out vehicles, things like that. Kind of gives you your use here as far as where they're at on rank, kind of showing you the difference maybe between a patrol officer and a supervisor not driving as much, being in the office looking in cases, things like that. This is my replacement plan here. You'll see that in this slide as well as the next slide. You kind of see that the ACO vehicle hopefully will be replaced next year in 2027. So this vehicle will be named 54 and potentially probably replaced in 2034.
So that means car 54, where are you? Sorry.
Thanks for catching me.
So everybody over 60 gets that joke.
Yeah, by the time you get the car 6'7", no one's gonna know.
Just Google that, those of you over 60, computerized.
Yeah. All right. So here is kind of the plan I came up with, and obviously I know I was busy working on this and a bunch of other things. So Micah was also busy today, the community development director. I sat with him a little bit during the presentation, kind of showed him my numbers here, which are wrong because our current population is not 6,000. Right now we're about 7,200. So we're already, and you look at 2030's numbers where I put 19, that's going to be closer to what he said is 13,000. So
hold on, 19, instead of 19,000, or instead of 11,000, it's gonna be 13,000 in 2030. Rough estimate. So, based on calculations of knowledge of how we function, still wanting to remain proactive, and the population and call load that we have, there's many calculations. You can even Google, you can ask AI to do some numbers on population versus how many officers you should have. Knowing how we function right now and what we're going to need in the future, I think it's very, I guess, responsible to say that we could operate with these numbers. And like right now, we were at 14 last year. This year, we added the 15th. To be really responsible and safe and eliminate the commonality of having one officer on, we need to get to that 19 staffing wise. And then to be even more professional in some investigative type areas as we get larger. 20 and 21 is going to be a good number. So with that comes vehicles and trying to replace a couple each year. We have a couple years where you're taking out a few and then adding maybe 4. So this is also fluid, but I do plan ahead and have a thought process of how long we want to drive these vehicles. So as I said, the 2026 budget includes $100,000 for fleet purchase this year, and will fall well under this amount under budget line item. Have you changed that line item yet?
Yes.
Okay, so budget line item 81-210-7360, equipment reserves, and this vehicle cost is $56,600 from locally Don Hatton in Park City. Cost for the emergency vehicle upfitting is $29,551, and the cost for decals is $650. As you can kind of saw in a previous photo or a slide there, I had a photo of the car. We're going all black right now instead of black and white, just because of the cost of painting the cars, and it I think provides a better resale. And to be honest, the graphics we put on there, with them being a black car with white graphics, they illuminate even brighter at night than a black and white car. So I think that's a safety feature as well. So that's, and also I added in there that we also, we're not charged $1,000 from this vehicle 38 we just sold today on Purple Wave, because the upfitter didn't charge us $1,000 for stripping vehicle equipment out of that. So that was nice. It is recommended the City Council approve the expenditure of $86,801 for the purchase of one Chevrolet Tahoe Pursuit vehicle, as well as the upfitting and decal costs.
Just one quick comment. I know
Yes.
you've mentioned in the past that it's nice to have the Tahoes since we don't have a jail.
Yeah,
And
because, I mean, prisoners are transported to the Sedgwick County Jail. We're not gonna get in the business of creating our own jail. Everyone in Sedgwick County goes to the Sedgwick County Jail. Even Wichita officers, if that's where they operate, it would be
so having a larger size.
a larger size vehicle. I mean, nobody wants to go to jail, nobody wants their child to go to jail, but if, and I say child as in, like, 60-year-old parent whose child still may not get certain responsibilities in life, being cared for, not just the space and comfortability, but the safety features that come with that. The cages that we put in there, the seatbelt restraints and everything like that. The air conditioning is actually in that cube where you're sitting versus back in the days when we had a Dodge Charger and we had to pipe air back there just because it's not built for that functionality.
Thought that would be a good thing to mention.
And it's a larger vehicle, it's heavier, it's built, I think you get what you pay for, and it's built a little better. If you involved in the crash between here and there, it's a pretty good survivability.
Also touching on the fact that I think that, there was a mention that, you guys had switched to Ford Explorers at one point because they were more cost effective, but that's really not the case anymore, right? Like, most of these vehicles at this point are pretty competitive in price.
The Ford Explorer, Dodge Durango, they're gonna be a little bit less, but you're gonna have less space. They don't sit up as high.
Yeah.
And visibility for
us seeing and being seen, I think, are important.
Good.
Good.
Naomi, you good?
Absolutely, yep.
I'll entertain a motion to approve this recommendation.
I second.
Why don't you give the motion? I said I was.
Oh, sorry.
No.
I make a motion, to approve the expenditure of $86,801 for the purchase of one Chevy Tahoe Pursuit vehicle as well as the outfitting and decal costs.
We have a motion.
Second.
Krista seconds. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you very much, it's
Chief.
appreciated.
Appreciate you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Community Engagement Director. Danny Mead. Also is running a live stream in the back that she's passed off to. We'll see if it keeps running, so.
I'm sure
Okay.
better than ever. Hi, I'm Danny Meading. I'm the Community Engagement Director for the City of Goddard, and I am here to give you a presentation of 2025 events. I was hired back in April, and from the moment I started, pretty well, I believe it was week 1, I sat down with Brooke and we kind of had an idea of what our guesstimate of what our budget should look like for these based on previous years. So, I've never actually had a plan like this, and there you go. Mine's gonna be more colorful than the other ones you've seen. Alright, so our community events are the Main Street Markets, Neighbors United, National Night Out, Fall Fest, Christmas on Main Street. Our Main Street Markets, pretty well our attendance was very varied based on weather this year, and so what I've got down below is our numbers based on how many vendors attended per month, as well as food trucks. And as you see, September it grew. Our sponsorships, money-wise, cash, was well over $1,050, oh my gosh, however you say it, my brain's not picking up on it, but however you say that number, that is for our cash donations, so that paid for our inflatables this year, that paid for entertainment, and then our in-kind donations would be like the sum up of not having to hire 3 photographers for Main Street Market for Mother's Day, as well as the giveaways we did each week, or not each week, each month. And so, if we were to give a ballpark figure as to what those rounded up as, it would be $1,000. Now, this is our biggest revenue generating event, as well as all, in terms of we retained. So, our biggest expense was the last event, was our inflatables. Long story short, we did not gain a sponsor, and we decided, we've made enough, it's fine, let's just pay it. And so, our total volunteers are about 5, give or take the day, and then that is not what I wanted. Here we go, next button. Alright, Neighbors United. Neighbors United, we had 241 true volunteers, these are the ones that signed up, as well as those that showed up day of, is well over 300 because we don't have any shirts left. Site leaders, we had 21 total volunteers, 200, I already said that. Projects, we had 25, and then revenue, which was the sponsorships we brought in, was $3,000 worth, and then the expenses, maxed that. So our expenses pretty well were about $4,000. If we jump over to National Night Out, we had a lower attendance than normal years due to wind and heat and weather advisories, of course. I believe it was 102 that day, and then it was 35 mile per hour winds, even on the slowest part of the night. What we donated was 1,800, and total sponsorships was 2,200. So where you see the revenue button, it is 3,225. Out of that, 1,800 was donated to the nonprofit of our choice that year, which I believe it was KS Cops that we donated. Our total expenses was 2,700 with meat, etc. Tacos. As you can see, we do walking tacos and watermelon and family-friendly activities. let's see, Fall Fest. Fall Fest was our big kahuna this year. I would want to play it. I don't know if I can. Let's see if I can. No? Play? No? Alright, well, we're not gonna watch the video. But, 2024, I wanted to take us back a year to show you just how big this has grown. So 2024, we had, roughly from 3rd Street down, to really identify all of our key points for what all was happening, whether it was our beer garden, our fireworks station, our stage. If you want to memorize this map, we doubled. So we grew this year with the help of Blackstock Bay and the Sand Volleyball as well as Genesis. We were able to provide sunset yoga, we were able to provide tournaments as well as a drive-in movie. We were also able to expand our vendors, so they wrapped around the park this year instead of just going on Main Street, which led to easement throughout Main Street and better accessibility throughout the duration of the event. Now, also we added chainsaw artists this year, which was cool, but also a learning curve. Let's see. So, moving on to 2025 Fall Fest, our attendance was up by about 3,000. So, I'll let you look at those numbers. What I want to talk about is our main category that came was from Wichita. And then we had about 2,000 from Goddard come, almost 3,000. And then our next competing ones are Hayesville, Cheney, and Clearwater, and Derby. Those are the hundreds that came from out of town to ours. So this event pulled a lot of numbers, and if you want to look down at the bottom, these are how we compare year to year. Next, we're going to jump into some fun facts. We had the largest donut contest we've ever held. We had 36 total business sponsors. We had 34 city staff working it, whether it was the day of or leading up to. That includes Ryan, that includes Greg. Everyone's sitting at this table pretty well, except I'm so sorry, Stephanie. She wasn't here, but
Next year.
No pressure.
We had 8 binders to control it all. We had 5 golf carts and 2 gators, and might I add, those 2 gators broke down. So we had 5 golf carts that day.
It was also raging hot then as well.
It was also raging hot then. And the binders, thank you to Kayla, Lori, and Kathy, were well organized and were able to organize public works, police, as well as just the rest of the city staff, so we could all stay on the same page that day. To show our comparisons here, I'd heard all year that we compete with Rose Hill, and I'm here to show the numbers. I don't think we compete near as well as we thought we did. Our numbers double, if not triple. And that number, as we heard earlier, is wrong. It's 7.2K. So my apologies. Data's wrong on Google. We shouldn't trust it. Okay, so then, Christmas on Main Street. We're jumping into this one. Our attendance was 1.3K. Revenue was 3,200. Expenses were about 3,200. And our total sponsorships in cash was 2,400. And our total volunteers were roughly about 30, give or take, days moving forward, like up into the event and then day of the event. And then here's our comparisons for Christmas festival comparisons. So I'd say our biggest rival, I suppose, moving forward is probably Maze. That being said, they are the day after us. So we hold ours on a Saturday, and they held theirs on a Sunday. So pretty well, it just gives everyone a clear shot of getting a picture of Santa within a 20-mile radius, of course. And then from 2025 to 2024, I believe we increased roughly 400 to 500. And then that's it. That's my yearly. That's all I got. Thank you.
Appreciate all the data and your hard work, and I'm sure this next year will be even bigger and better.
Yeah, I sure hope so.
All right.
Well, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stevie, for what you do. You do a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, so, Community Development Director, fire away.
Alright, this is item I-8, this is Evans Road Company rezoning case number zone 25-5. So feel free to interrupt me anytime if you guys have any questions about this. But Baughman Company, who is present, so if you guys do have questions for Baughman Company, Evans Building Company is present if you do have questions for them as well. So they submitted an application for a land general located on the southeast corner of 130 US 54. The applicant would like to rezone the land from C2 General Business District and PUD to light industrial, which is I2. The reason for the rezoning is for light industrial flex spaces released by 2 tenants on a case-by-case basis, ranging from commercial to industrial type land uses. The zoning case was published in the city newspaper allowing 20 days to lapse prior to being brought before the planning commission. Letters were sent out to everyone within 200 feet for KSA 12727, and the planning commission did approve this on January 12th of 2026, 7-0. So it was a unanimous decision. City council is reviewing the rezoning application for land generally located around 1830 US 54 on the southeast corner. It's 29.49 plus or minus acres. Number of lots to be replatted once, so they're consolidating all the lots around that area with the exception of 2. Square footage is about 1.2 million. Current zoning, I guess that's PUD and C2, and they're being consolidated under I2, which is the new zoning classification that we have. That's the land. I will mention Casey's is here, and they didn't buy that lot over there where most of the specials are being allocated from the Casey's development improvements. All the rest of this is being replatted into one big lot. This is train lot here. The rest of it will be private. This is not what the layout is going to look like I said, they consolidated, but this is what the current plat was, not what the new plat's going to look like. This land over here is a separate developer, and Daughter Gallery is over in this area. There is a small publication cost for the public hearing and the ordinance after consideration by City Council. Legally it's approved as a form. It's recommended City Council vote for 1, waive the reading of the ordinance for voice vote, and approve the ordinance for rezoning case number 25-5 for voice plus a roll call. As mentioned, Baughman is behind me. We do have Evans Building Company. If you guys have any questions for them, they are present.
Any questions?
No?
No questions.
No questions, that's good.
I make a motion that we waive the reading of the ordinance.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye. And I make a motion that we approve the ordinance for the rezoning case number 25-5.
Second.
Okay, Krista's made the motion, and we'll let Naomi second that since she's so far away. Roll call.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Mayor Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Hall,
Yes.
Councilmember Leonard,
Yes.
ordinance 1033.
1033.
1033, carries 4-0.
This is I-9. This is the final plat for the Public Works Building Edition. So the city is in the process of platting land north of the wastewater treatment plant in anticipation of building a new Public Works building. It is anticipated the Public Works building will be finished this year, in December, with the police station will be finished sometime. It says 2028, but sometime in the future. The land is being platted, it's owned by the city, but since it is unplatted, it needs to go through the formal platting process, preliminary and final plat. This item is for review of the final plat, which needs to be approved for the city council happening tonight. Planning Commission approved the final plat on January 12th, 2026. City Council is reviewing a final plat for the future Public Works building and police station. Acres are 18.85, it's around 821,000. There is a FEMA flood plan, so you walk around that. Evergy has easements recorded that are reflected on the plat area of overhead power lines, if you guys are familiar with that area. Due to the amount of impervious surface, city will have to install detention ponds and storm water, so you'll see that on the plat. Both the preliminary and the final, you can see where the detention ponds are. That's the land. So the dash yellow is our city limits, so you can see we're right about this is up here. This is our stormwater. This is our Public Works building down over here. This is an Evergy substation over here. These are the lagoons that we used to infect, and now they're used to so we'll filter the wastewater treatment plant. This is the final plat, this is the preliminary plat, and then you'll see the final as well, which is attached. But this is what the preliminary looks like, it's using more detail. You can see where the flood plain is. This is detention and drainage layout. Department 4 acres, so the engineer is here. CDD is obviously representing us for this project. So if you guys have any questions for Harlan, feel free.
Harlan, do you have any comments?
We'll make it work.
Make it work. All right, that's a good comment.
Financially, now the consideration city going to have to sign the plat for KSA 12-401. It is recommended city council approve the final plat for the Auto Public Works addition.
You get it?
Yeah, I just wanna say, we took a tour of the current public works building, at council orientation, and wow, I'm not sure that there are words to say how absolutely terrible it is in there, so,
Don't say.
yeah, just well deserved, especially for how hard you are working and how hard you say your crew is working, for them to just have a better place to be, so.
All right, very good.
Good. I make a motion to approve the final plat for the Goddard Public Works addition.
Chris has made a motion to approve.
I second.
Amanda seconds. All those in favor say aye.
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 Very good.
Motion carries 4-0.
This is item I-10.
You're on a roll.
This is item I-10, final plat for Goddard North Park. City's in the process of replatting North Park land and under boundary line changes will purchase and swap land with certain property owners that are abutting the North Park. Discussions with engineering firms, city led discussions that would be best to replat the land as such. A replat requires a preliminary plat and final plat, which is where subdivision regulations are laid out. To be approved by the planning commission first, is the final plat shown to the city council, which is happening tonight. And the planning commission did approve this, the final replat on January 12th of 2026, 7-0. City council reviewed the final replat for the future North Park development. Acres are 9.1 plus or minus about 400,000 square feet. There is a FEMA floodplain in that area too, of course. There seems to be everywhere a FEMA floodplain. There's the land. We do have Baughman as actually a agent for the applicant on our behalf, so Baughman is here as well. If you guys do have questions for them. This is how we are kind of readjusting the network around the pond. So originally, you can see the white line, which is the original plat back in 2020. So we are swapping and / purchasing land from the adjacent property owners to manage the pond more effectively, as well as with this property owner, we are giving them some additional land and move the purchase price I believe. So it's just to help us manage and control that pond more effectively for the North Park. This is the final plat. The adjoining property owners are going to have to sign the final plat as well. City attorney will have to sign the final plat. We always have our city attorney sign these plats, just like per KSA 1241. The mayor's going to have to sign final plats. Typically, he's going to have to sign these ones twice, so get prepared for that. This recommends City Council approve the final replat for the Goddard North Park second edition. So every time we replat, it becomes second edition. If we replat, it becomes third edition, fourth edition, fifth edition, ad infinitum. So that's what we have today. Do you guys have any questions for Baughman, staff? Any questions related to this one?
Those changes in purchasing a little bit of ground and giving up some ground allows us to have a walkway where we actually own the ground.
Yeah, I was saying in 2020 when we negotiated that whole process, and so when we platted it back then, the anticipation was that we would just have the white, but we had an easement here, so the land, the white would be what we owned, and then we had easement to maintain the berms, or not berms, but the riprap around the pond. Internal dialogue is, the possibility of actually managing this more effectively than actually having a walkway, as you mentioned, around the pond makes it more effective, except of course don't walk too far this way, because that's a cheetah exhibit, so there you go. Just take that into consideration.
Don't climb that fence.
Yeah, don't climb that fence, they're not cats.
Oh, they're cats, all right. All right, any questions, comments?
I'm here.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the final replat, Goddard North Park second edition. Got a second?
A second.
Amanda seconds. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
Very good. This is item I-11. This is the final replat for the Goddard City Center third edition. So once we Baughman Company submitted a plat application to replat a portion of land surrounding Casey's General Store. The developer would like to build flex space. This is something we've already talked about. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Acres, land unit, etc. So the final replat. You saw this map. This is what it's going to look like. It looks like they've been separated into separate lots, but not. This is all one contiguous lot. As mentioned, Casey's is here. This lot they did not purchase, so everything along here they did purchase, and the land that's south of the pipeline is a separate developer. The tension is here in blue up in the outline, so you can see how they're detaining it. I will thank Baughman since they are detaining more to account for Casey's, so we'll have an impervious surface that will be captured with that detention pond. Will include the Casey's in that surrounding area, so we do appreciate that. Financially, none of the considerations included as forms. Recommends that the council approve the final replat for Goddard City Center third edition. But do you have any questions for Baughman
for Evansville County.
No?
I'm good.
Good.
I make a motion to approve the final replat for Goddard City Center, 3rd edition.
I second that. Okay, Naomi seconds. All those in favor say aye.
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 Pass 4-0 with 2 seconds.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike, appreciate
Thank you,
it.
guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're in the home stretch.
Yes, sir.
All right, this is item 12. Again, this is no new information at this point. As you know, we started the process of hiring a firm to help us write our new 10-year comprehensive plan back in November. And where we are is we've conducted a series of interviews, we've had presentations and narrowed it down to 2 finalist candidates, Olson and Halsey Levine. There have been follow-up interviews and follow-up information along with the resubmittal of proposed project hours, costs, and fees. So we have Olson's, we have Halsey Levine's. Again, where we are right now is just needing council to select a firm for city staff to enter into negotiations to draft a contract that can be brought back to city council that'll have a price tag along with a fee payment schedule. I know that council is very keen on splitting up the payment, so we're definitely going to be considering that as part of the contract and have that written down in the contract of how that payment, what that payment looks like, as well as the fees and services. So again, for tonight, all we are looking for is council to make a decision on who they would like us to enter into contract negotiations. We stand for any questions and turn it over to you for final discussion.
Naomi, do you want to start?
We're good.
No pressure.
No pressure. Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks to both of the companies and also to our staff who called and got all of the follow-on questions answered that we had. This has been a pretty awesome but long debate, and it was really tough to decide because I think that there's a lot of good with both organizations, and it's the first time that we're all learning about what it's like to put together in order to choose somebody to do a comprehensive plan for us. So it's an exciting time for the city, really. Overall, I think my recommendation would be to go with Olson, but I think everybody's got some ideas, so I'll be quiet and let everybody else speak before we make an overall recommendation.
I would second that. I feel like we had extensive research to read through, and I would second going with Olson, but just making sure that the Sharon Woods option is added to this. Definitely think that's worth the extra money. I would just state that after city staff did their due diligence of kind of asking around to other communities who work with them, you know, both of these firms came with glowing recommendations, but there was just something about the way that people spoke about Olson and the community engagement that they provided and just the extra effort that they took on each community.
Agreed. I think both companies are very strong and would be good for our community. I do prefer Olson over Halsey Levine specifically for the people aspect, the engagement, community engagement piece, and Sharon Woods.
And I agree. Just the references from a couple of the cities that we've talked with, I think their community engagement piece maybe a little bit stronger, and I think they'll be able to help us address the duplex issue in a way that will resolve it and allow us to move forward. So.
I do want to thank both firms for their submittals and for Halsey Levine for taking the time, especially through a holiday season. You know, I do appreciate those efforts as well.
I second that.
Okay, City Council moves to select Olson to assist the City of Goddard in creating a new comprehensive plan and direct city staff to enter into contract negotiations with the firm,
And then Mayor, if you can tack on to that, including the Sharon Woods optional service.
including the Sharon Woods optional service.
I second. Was
Very
that your
good.
motion?
That's good. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Here we go.
Thank you
Passes
very much.
4-0 with the
We will
addition.
contact them tomorrow and start that process and bring the contract back. Once that is signed, then we will start work on forming the steering committee and starting the interviews and the initial data. And this is, again, this is going to be over a year-long project, so this is just the first step, but it's great that we've come to a consensus moving forward with Olson, and look forward to drafting the new plan for the next 10 years. And again, to those in the audience, those watching, to the community in general, we very much need you, and I know that you'll convey that message as well. We definitely need the involvement of the community in order to make this truly an effective plan that represents the cross-section of Goddard, and so that it is transparent and open, and we do collect that data as we're drafting the new plan. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ryan.
Item 13, of course, that would mean that our city attorney, Ryan Peck, gets lucky number 13 this evening.
Good evening. If I could just take a brief moment, I'd like to introduce Brett Hauk. Stand up in the back there. Brett is a law clerk with our firm, Norris Lang. He spent 2 summers working for us. He has agreed to come back and be an associate at the firm beginning this fall. He is in the final stretch, finishing up his last semester of law school at UMKC. And finishing up the final semester and working for us for free this semester for student credit. So you will see him here with me providing free services to the city of Goddard. So we
The city of Goddard appreciates you.
Being a part of your educational process, and of course, we've got, I guess, a fellow kangaroo in the audience.
All right. So we're here to talk about the ordinance, which really is the second step in the condemnation process with regard to the water looping project. At our last meeting, you all approved a resolution authorizing us to move on to this next step to proceed with its condemnation. This ordinance grants us authority to take that next step, which would be the filing of a petition in district court to formally proceed with condemnation. I had a conference call this morning with our outside engineer. We are down to, I believe, about 6 or 7 parcels that we're still trying to finalize an agreement with. Out of those, I believe we're hopeful that we'll be able to ultimately reach an agreement with all but maybe 1 or 2 of those. We're getting really close with several of them. But still, we need to approve this ordinance in order to move to that next step. And we will continue to talk with the folks that we haven't struck an agreement with in hopes that we reach a resolution and don't actually have to proceed with the petition in court. But we've already covered we've talked about a lot of this stuff in prior